So I hope you're having fun with starting off on guitar, and I want to start lesson 2 by introducing this piece of plastic here, which is called the plectrum, or informally referred to as the pick sometimes. And it's another right hand technique that we can use. Some people use it all the time. I tend to use it less than half the time, but it's a very useful device, not difficult, and I recommend that you do use it as well as getting good with the use of finger work in the right hand when you're beginning, so that you have the feeling of playing music, and that it's not all such hard work. Now, of course, you can drag this down through all the strings as if they're all sounding at once, and we call that a chord. Can also go up, and very often it will do both. We'll start with it down because that tends to be the stronger beat. And you can make up a number of rhythms with that. Now, I haven't said where I'm holding it. I'm holding it just between the thumb and the index finger, with the point roughly perpendicular to the thumb, pointing down to the strings. Whatever feels comfortable to you. Again, I'll remind you, keep the wrist off the soundboard, keep it up in the air, and the whole arm kind of comfortable and with a feeling of freedom, that you're not stuck to the guitar, even up at the level of the elbow or wherever your forearm is meeting the body of the guitar. You still have somehow a feeling of freedom, because we need to be flexible and free in the right hand. We can make many rhythms with this. For instance, the time signature 2/4, which is basically a rhythm involving 2 pulses, the first one being the strongest, simply 1, 2, 1, 2. And we could make a number of different patterns for this. We could simply do two downs, so 2, 1, 2. But I'm going to show you a much nicer one, which is basically down, down, up, down, down, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and. Now, some people get confused, and they think a lot about, what is it when I have to do 2 ups in a row or 2 downs in a row. But really, if you look at the hand, you'll see that the hand is always going down, up. And what really happens is that you just miss some of them. So if I tell you we're going to do 1, 2, and down, down, up. Really, on the second part of the first beat, there's an up there where your hand is coming back up, but you're simply missing the strings. So it's really 1, whoops, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, miss, 2, and 1, miss, 2, and. So that's quite a simple idea that I want you to get comfortable with, because some of the most complex plectrum techniques can be broken down into simply down ups, where some of the notes are missed. We move straight ahead to another time signature called 3/4. It's 3 beats to the bar with a very similar pattern. We're just going to do 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. Now I want to go back to looking at the single notes. In the first lesson we looked at the E string, E, F, G, F, the B string, B, C, D, C. Now I want to move on to the G. Actually, we're just going to do 2 white notes, as we call them, referring to the piano, G and A. Now G is the open string, A is simply the 2nd fret, and we'll do that with the 2nd finger, G and A. And we're not going to do a 3rd note there, you can find out later about that. The 4th string is D. On the 2nd fret, there we have E. This is another E. You'll find these letter names are repeated in what are called different octaves. You don't need to worry too much about that. D, E. 3rd finger on the 3rd fret will give you F. We're still in the 4th string. So we have D, E, F, E, D, Now you'll notice I've moved on to using the plectrum also for the single notes, and you know, this is a nice way to get into playing single notes without worrying too much with the right hand. Now at the start you'll probably want to do all of those notes as downs. Of course I've just put the two strings together there, and I've done the whole row of notes D, E, F, G, A, and back down, with just downbeats in the plectrum. Later on you might want to alternate those beats in a similar way to where we did the strumming, to the way we did the strumming. You would do a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And if you remember from the first lesson, we also learned the notes on the second and first strings, so you might want now to go the whole way up. Just be careful, take your time, make a sort of a mental image of where these notes are, give yourself a bit of time to do it. D, E, F, then we had G and A on the next string, G, A, and we had B, C, D, and finally we had E, F, G. Going back down, we could say G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D. Good. A new area for us is chords. We haven't done any chords. Chord is basically a whole group of notes. And I want to show you this one right away. This would be called C, usually full name C major, major being the type of chord. And hopefully you can see that, the way that is patterned there. I'll remind you that you can also, of course, look up these chord diagrams in a book or on the internet, and you get many references there if you don't remember it from here. But I'm going to spell it out for you anyway. Many chords include open strings. These are not wrong notes, these are correct notes, these are part of the chord. So if I want to describe this chord, I would say that we are doing the first string open. On the second string we have a fretted note, and that will be the first finger in the first fret, which we now know is C. The third string is also open. I'm going to leave that finger there. I'm going to leave every finger there that we placed there. On the fourth string, what's happening? Well, we've got the second finger in the second fret on the note E. On the fifth string we have the third finger in the third fret on the note C. And as we're doing chords, I want to introduce an idea that goes with each chord, and that's called the root note. And the root note is essentially a bass note which has the same name as the chord. And that, for this chord, of course, for a C chord, that's going to be a C note. It's as simple as that. It's going to be a low sounding C note. This one right here on the fifth string, third fret. That's a low sounding C note, and we're going to use that later on as an important part of the right hand in relation to the chords. Now what about the sixth string? I looked this up on the internet and I saw a lot of diagrams saying that this is a wrong note. They were X'd in the diagram. This is not a wrong note. E is part of the C chord. However, you may prefer to just play it from the fifth string down, because then you're starting with the root. And also, yeah, this interval between the very low E and the C may not be completely desirable sometimes. But it's not a wrong note. That's the chord of C, C major. Now I want to bring you into the next chord from this chord, and that's a good technique to do. Very often we don't really want to completely start from scratch all the time by taking the hand away, coming onto a new chord. Very often when we're actually playing, we want to develop one chord into another in the left hand, minimizing the work that's happening in the left hand, making things easier for you and improving the sound. So to go from C into the next chord, now the next chord is called A minor. We can't just call it